All right, so I'm going to preface this talk by, I did give this yesterday, and I went to go watch it to put it on YouTube, and I quickly realized I had no sound. So here's hoping this actually has sound this time, and that, Crystal, I don't know if you saw my comment, but you put, these are micronutrients, and I'm like, these are macronutrients, Crystal, so I want to help you out. I want to give it again. It's okay. So macronutrients are the talk. I figured we can use these type of videos not only for your, like, hopefully to educate you guys, but something you can bring home to friends and family members, or potentially share it with them to kind of get them to understand, like, what we do here extends beyond just the, like, here are thrusters, here are pull-ups, try really hard. It also talks about nutrition. So what are macronutrients? Is something I asked yesterday. I'm going to ask it again, although this time I have the answer on the whiteboard. Kate, what are macronutrients? Ooh, oh, you tell me what they are. Don't give me the three of them yet. You are right. But they're essentially a categorization of a food item based on their molecular structure. Basically how much carbon, how much hydrogen, how much oxygen they have in them, amongst other things, and how that's combined. Now, Kate, what are the three macronutrients? Fats. Yup, fat. Carbs. And protein. Beautiful. Very good. What were you going to say, Mom? What were your three guesses? Oh, you were going to say that. Yes, protein is a macronutrient, correct? Now, how we identify whether or not it is a fat, a carb, or a protein is basically, it comes down to a very simple thing. How many grams of that per 100 calories is in that food item? The more of it is fat than it is protein, it's fat. There's more protein than there's carbs, it's a protein. There are very few examples of a pure fat, a pure protein, and pure carbohydrate. In fact, the only pure carbohydrate is table sugar. Everything else has some level of fat or protein in it. So it's quickly to realize there aren't very many things that we're worried about having, being too fatty. A very common example is like, oh, don't eat steak, it's too fatty. Well, steak is like 79% water, so there's that. It is? Yeah, steak is 79% water. It's like 9% protein and like 3% fat and like 1% carb. It's something ridiculous like that, but it's mostly water. So everyone's like, don't eat a steak, it's too fatty. It's mostly water.
Is chicken mostly water too?
Yes. It's a little bit more than steak is, but my point being here is that none of these food items are a single macronutrient. They're all a balance of all of them. The easiest way you can identify this going out of this place, though, is if you go to buy something and you look at the nutrition label, if it has one, look which macronutrient is in the greatest supply.
Should we be buying things with nutrition labels on it?
Not ideally, but if you buy some with a nutrition label on it, and you look at the back of it, and you're like, oh, it says high protein. This is hilarious, because Amanda and I were talking this morning. She buys her daughters these acai bowls that come from Walmart. They're frozen in the aisle. She opens it up, she looks back, she's like, high in protein. So she looks at the back, 6 grams of protein per serving. High in protein. We're going to talk about how that gets to that point here in a minute, but 6 grams high in protein, not actually high in protein. Now, the three categories have 3 main objectives in our life. They are to promote growth and development. So either to help your muscles grow or help you grow through puberty and turn into an adult. They help provide energy. They're the fuel that makes the car go, makes you go. Or last but not least, they regulate your metabolism or affect how your metabolism works. So each of these food items have different things they do for you and do inside of your body, which is of interest to us because understanding like why I say, hey, eat a high protein, low glycemic, high or healthy fat diet, there's a reason behind that. So if we start with fat, fat does what? Anyone know? Yes, energy for sure. Specifically, energy at rest or in low intensity exercise. So like long, slow distance. You go for a nice long walk, you're burning primarily fat. So energy, what else?
Regulate hormones.
Yes, they are foundations for your hormones. Good job, Kate. Josh, you said that too?
No, that's what I said.
Oh, okay, Kate got it.
They kept me warm.
What else?
Brain health.
Yeah, big part of a lot of your tissues. What else? Anybody else? Everybody heard of a fat-soluble vitamin? So there are certain vitamins your body needs to perform its best, and some of them only work in the presence of fat. So they help us use vitamins like K, D, A. Vitamins are micronutrients, but fat helps us absorb them. What else? What's the thing that everybody's worried about with their doctor when they go on statins? Yeah, they're the basis for your cholesterol, which happens to be the foundation for basically all of your body's cells. Now, how is something that you are mostly made out of bad for you? Can anyone explain that? Say that again. How is something that is the foundation for who you are as a person bad for you? All of your cells are made of fat. How is fat bad for you? That's right. Damn right. Now, we move on to one level below that. Carbs, what do? Energy. Yes, energy is correct. When do we use them? If fat is for slow, what is carbs for? Rápido. Yeah, high intensity. What else? Crickets, that's it. You guys got it, that's it. Energy for high intensity exercise. Keeps you sane, keeps you flowing, but essentially carbohydrates typically only fuel in high intensity exercise situations. Now, what about protein?
Build muscle.
Yeah, it's foundation for our muscles.
Keep you sane.
What else?
Keeps you full. Keeps you warm.
Does keep you full.
Thermogenic effect.
Yeah, helps you burn some fat. A little higher burning. It's the foundation for basically every single one of your organs. Every single organ in your body is basically a protein. So it forms your skin, your bones, your blood, connective tissue, teeth. You know what your teeth are? They are protein matrices with minerals inside of them. So it's basically just a protein structure that's been filled in with a bunch of minerals. That's all your teeth are. Now, of these 3 macronutrients, 2 of them are essential. And when I say essential, I mean necessary for life. If you don't have them, you die. Ooh, Josh, do you know the answer?
Fat and protein.
Fat and protein, which means if you do not consume fat or do not consume protein, you will die. Talked yesterday about rabbit starvation. I don't know if you guys remember what that is. You guys remember? No. When the pioneers landed in the United States, they hunted squirrels and rabbits and starved to death because those squirrels and rabbits did not possess enough fat on their tissues to keep them alive. There are 2 essential fatty acids that you need to consume from your food or your supplements or you die. They are linoleic acid and alpha linoleic acid. If you don't get them in your diet, you perish. Amino acids, there are 20 of them, 9 of which you need to get from your food or exogenously, put them in your body, it doesn't perform naturally, and 11 that you can kind of synthesize within your own body. This is why typically people will say animal-based proteins are superior to plant-based proteins because animal proteins tend to carry all 9 essential amino acids, whereas plant-based ones, they typically have to mix them, which is why if you go to any supplement store and you look for a plant-based protein, you're going to notice that it's pea, soy, tempeh, it's mixed, everything's together. And that's because plants don't provide essential amino acids in the same way that animal products do. Now, talk about what they do. Why do we care? Why do we care? Why do we care what we put in our face?
We want to be healthy.
Answer. You want to avoid chronic disease. Right? We have to realize that what we do in here when we talk about nutrition and the exercise we do is the simple formula to avoid chronic disease. If you pay attention to what you put in your face and you exercise, meaning you lift some heavy weights to build muscle and you get your heart rate up, you can put yourself on a path to avoid most of these problems. 90% of our healthcare costs are to manage, babysit chronic disease. People who do what we do here and eat the way we eat avoid that. Now, the last thing we talked about yesterday is what the average American diet looks like versus the CrossFit prescription. So, we're going to call it WD, Western diet. Let's see who remembers it. We're going to start with carbohydrate. What do you think the average American diet is, percentage-wise, carbohydrate?
70.
Good guess. A little less. 50 to 70% for carbohydrate. All right, now let's go fat. Anybody remember?
20.
About 30. Now, before we getting crazy here, if you're at 30%, you are still eating some protein, so probably close to 50. So the range is, again, 25 to 30 for most people. I'll put 30 on the board. Last one's protein. What's the average American getting protein a day, percentage-wise? 10 to 15%. Yeah, that low. The average American eats between 80 and 100 grams of protein a day. Now, what I said yesterday is, if you eat that way, you can imagine everything you consume in one single day in one giant platter, right? Everything you eat in a day in one platter. The average American, 70% of that is carbohydrate, 30% of that is fat, and 10 to 15% is protein. If you're looking for a macronutrient to up so that you eat less of the stuff that gives you chronic disease, which are typically the processed carbohydrates, this is the answer. So the CrossFit prescription of diet is on that poster back there, but it's a macronutrient breakdown of, anyone remember? 40, 30, 30. 40% carbohydrate, 30% fat, 30% protein. The carbohydrates are of the low glycemic variety. The fat, healthy animal-based, plant-based. And the protein is typically lean. We get our fat from other sources, the avocados, the nuts and seeds, that nature. But essentially, if you just stuck to the eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar, you would avoid being one of those 90%ers who get chronic disease. I think all you guys want to live a long and happy, healthy life. The way out of that is eating less of this and more of this, and probably the same amount of that as you currently are eating. What questions do you guys have?
Nothing.
No questions?
I have a trick that I do. If you are going to eat something with a label, let's say it's 200 calories, I always block the last calorie, and then that would leave you with 20, and have at least that many grams of protein.
I do like that.
Or higher.
So if it's 200 calories, you need to have at least 20 grams of protein, you're not eating it.
170, it has to have at least 17.
I like that. That's good advice. Well, guys, thanks for listening. Appreciate you all. Hopefully you found that interesting. And next time we talk, I'm going to start breaking each one of these macronutrients down a little bit more, in case you're interested in learning a little bit more about fat, carb, and protein. But thanks for hanging, everybody, and I'll see you in class or next class.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you, Kate.